I hope that you all enjoyed your sessions as much as I did. Can I get a round of applause for all of our facilitators today? They dedicated a lot of time and hard work to making sure sessions were high quality, instructive, and informative, and I want to make sure they know how much we appreciate them. As we've been discussing a lot today, each and every one of you are an integral to the success of our scholars and network as a whole. UP does truly start with each and every one of you, and your hard work makes a real difference in the lives of our scholars and our families. On that note, I'd like to welcome our staff speaker, Maite Pena, to the stage. Maite is an UP parent. Maite is an UP parent and a staff member at UP Academy Dorchester. We are so thrilled that she is here to share her story with us. Let's give her a warm welcome again, everyone. You're welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Maite Pena. I am the parent of 3 children, 2 of those who attend UAD. I also am the office manager and high school coordinator at the school. So for each job, I have a child. So thanks God I'm not having no more kids. My experience with UP actually started back when the school was still the Marshall. I used to work at the Resource Center full-time and as a part-time as an after-school teacher. And all my 3 kids went there. I remember getting the letter from the Marshall that they were closing, which was a real impact and a surprise in my family. I heard teachers speaking about it, but I didn't want to believe it at that time. I was upset about changing and losing the school that my kids and myself know. I remember seeing Ms. Ewing, who was ultimately who was gonna be the principal at UAD, walking around in her high heels and I was thinking to myself, who does she think she is? She is not going to be able to do a better job than the people who are here. I remember Ms. Bollerman, that was my 3rd grade teacher, my son's 3rd grade teacher, and she was so peppy. And I was like, these people think because they're young, they could do it better than the Marshall family. I brought my son and daughter to the orientation, and I remember they were so happy, but I was still missing my Marshall family. I keep thinking, who are these people? But they fooled me. I really didn't think they were going to be able to do it, but they did. Ms. Lindenbank hired me in October, and I started feeling more comfortable and seeing my son grow. I didn't realize before that I was being an ignorant parent. I was seeing my son's future, and I didn't realize my kids were growing before my eyes. I remember Ms. Ewing and the DCI bringing a chart to students about the students' progress at PD, and it was a big change. And I see my kids' growth, and I could thank Ms. Gwen, who has helped my child read. She's an angel to me. He almost read at a grade level at this moment. And his other teachers, like Ms. O'Connell, Ms. Hill, Mr. Perret, and Mr. Faldi, they pushed him. And he feels so comfortable this year, and my daughter is going to have those same teachers. And I know they are going to push her. If they push my son, who wasn't going as well, imagine what they could do for her. My daughter to this day tells me I want to grow up to be Miss Ewing, which was the principal at UP Academy Dorchester last year. I want to grow up to be a teacher and a principal. I tell her, well, you're not gonna be my boss. So let me know, because I am going to need to look for another job. Fortunately, we have a long way for that still, so. While my job is a nonstop and so busy, I feel like so many people at the ops team, which are my Charlie's Angels, but with more people, have given me a big chance and pushed me to do better, that I'm even thinking of going back to school this year. I don't see myself working in any other place but UP. The moment I came to UP, the supply room was a hot mess. And I've made it my own. I look at the budget for UP. I take tremendous pride in my work. I shop with coupons. I negotiate with vendors. I build connection with them. I invite them to come and see the school. That's the kind of bond I try to build for our school. Bottom line, I'm here for the kids. Staying on budget is important to me. If the money runs out, our kids are running out of choice. Not only that, but I'm thinking of the trips that they will have at the end of the year. In the past year, I took on high school choices coordinator job, which was something that I had a chance to do. We got 14 kids into exam school, 7 kids into private schools, and about 20 kids in charter schools. All of my 51 kids applied to charter schools. I set them down, and they all had to pick at least 3 charter schools. You're gonna pick them because after the experience I had with the charter school, I want each and every kid to have the same experience also. This year, I am serving 68 8th graders that I have a hope and a vision that I want double the amount into these schools for them. Now with Ms. Conforme coming in, I feel like students will get to be heard more and will be able to get our school to be #1. Excited about the vision to make sure all of our students and family and staff are happy, know that we all have the power to help make a difference in students and parents' lives. I know I'm going to be doing everything in my part to get our school to be #1 again, and I know I will work together and listen to our students and family to get where we can with them. Thank you.
Thank you for that powerful account. Let's give another round of applause for her, please. One of the many things that stood out to me as Mati was speaking was the extent to which our organizational values were threaded throughout her remarks. I couldn't help but hear strands of community, humility, humor, resilience, and a focus on our students, and this was a really good reminder of how committed we need to be living these values each and every day and ensuring that we celebrate others when they exemplify excellence. On that note, while I know this day has focused a lot on what we can do to always improve as educators and supporters, we do want to acknowledge the incredible achievements we as a network have made. For those of you that are new to UP, I'm proud to introduce you to the UP Education Network Annual Awards. For those of you returning to UP, the annual awards are different this year than they were in the past. The awards are structured such that there are 5 network-wide awards for excellence and 5 value awards. Before we get this started, I want to mention that when we reached out for nominations for this year's awards, we received over 99 nominations for award recipients. Yes. What this demonstrates to me is that we are a network of individuals who are living out our values and striving for excellence each and every day. UP truly does start with you. This year, we're giving out 5 Excellence Awards to members of the UP Network who demonstrate a commitment to excellence in their everyday work, and in doing so, also inspire and lead their colleagues and students to an equally high bar of excellence. These include Excellence in Early Education, Excellence in Operations, Rookie of the Year, Excellence in STEM, and Excellence in Humanities. We're also giving out 5 value awards to members of the UP community who best exemplify our values of humor, humility, resilience, community, and students. For today's award ceremony, we're going to play a video introducing each award winner. Upon the completion of the video, I'll ask all award recipients to come to the stage to receive their plaque. One last note, please do not scream or applaud when a winner's name is announced. You won't be able to hear all of the kind things being said about them if you do. Snaps during the video are okay, but we want to hear what the people are saying on the video. We'll give all the winners a big round of applause at the end of the video. So just snaps now, and then we can root it all the way up at the end. So turn your attention towards the screen.
Tiana is one of the most phenomenal early childhood educators that I've ever worked with. I think of 4 things when I think of her. The first is her dedication to her students and her families, the amount of time that she takes to get to know each and every student when it comes down to spending time with them outside of school, countless hours working with them, their families, homework help, trips to the library, special get-togethers to get ice cream to celebrate their accomplishments. Tiana does all of that. I would also think about her as someone who has both incredible expertise and incredible humility. It can take no less than 5 minutes after I leave an observation in her classroom for Tiana to already reach out, ask for the notes, ask for my feedback, because she's always striving to get better at her craft. I also think about partnership when I think of her. Tiana mentors so many people across not only the K1-1 grade band, but our entire school, both formally and informally. And every single teacher that she's worked with in her classroom has gone on to become a lead teacher because of the partnership and the support that she provides them. And the last thing I think about is just the culture of achievement that she's set up in her classroom. Her scholars have the most integrity of any class in our school. They send themselves on whole class bathroom and water breaks with no adult supervision in K2 because they love learning so much and they love and respect the core values of our school. And that is how they approach everything they do every single day, whether it's a math discussion or a trip to go get some water.
Hi, I want to congratulate Sarais for winning the Excellence of Operation Award. You deserve this and more. You have become a long way. I'm so proud of all your accomplishment professionally and personally. You have taught me a lot of data and grade books information. You're great with family, teachers, and students. You're my partner in crime, and I'm so proud of all the accomplishments you have made throughout these years. Congratulations.
My favorite teacher is Miss Ferguson. She is my favorite teacher because she's always protecting us, and she's a very great teacher. And yeah. So she always makes sure we're prepared. She always makes sure we're happy. She always makes sure that that there's nothing wrong. And if we come in class all sad and down, she will call home and ask why we're sad, and she'll try to cheer us up to the best of her capability. She taught us how it's mean and cruel to be mean to others, because that might happen to us. And she also taught us to feel empathy for others.
What I appreciate so much about Paul and his math instruction is how amazing his energy level is all of the time in class. He is unbelievably committed to bringing the ultimate levels of enthusiasm to his classroom teaching, and that really enables him to sweep all students up in his super rigorous and really well-planned curriculum. His kids love math class with him, and that really shows in the results that he's able to get with his students because they are committed to the hard work that they have to do to excel.
So Adi's achievement results are really impressive, and I think one element that really contributes to that is how much she's willing to prep for her classes. Every morning Adi comes in early to interrogate the roadmap for her lesson. She's here at 6:30, has no problem just sort of scrapping a do now and changing it if she thinks it's what's best for kids. And she just at every level is making those difficult decisions in order to put the best work in front of her students. In addition, I would say in class, I constantly find myself humbled as I watch her teach. She has this ability to both make you want to be a teacher and a student at the same time when you're in your classroom. Students are really just invested in ELA, and they come in with questions based on the night before's reading. They're quick to erase their work to revise and make edits. They really push each other's thinking during discussion. It's a really special place to be.
She's a funny person. Like, she uses her humor in a good way. Like, I used to remember her when we used to talk about the colonies and how the British came, and like she's like how like the phrase "no taxation without representation." Like, she kind of used she like used like this phrase like colonists better have my money. It was like just a funny thing to like she uses her humor like in a good way to like have us like remember stuff, because sometimes like people just don't remember stuff like out of textbooks. Like different people have a way of learning, so like she used her humor and incorporated it into her lessons so like we can like understand stuff that she was teaching.
One of the things that I respect and appreciate about Will is his humility. Will is somebody that's very down to earth. Will doesn't take himself too seriously and always makes an extra effort to connect, whether it's with colleagues or with students. When it comes to experiences with students, Will's not only seen as just an authority figure, but as somebody that students know is speaking and attempting to influence them and their decision making because he cares. Will's also not somebody that's just open to feedback. Yeah, he demands it, and it's made relevant and real every moment that he has an opportunity to either ask a question about a check-in, ask a question about a process and conversation, or even his conversations with students. He's always open to hear what they have to say that could be done better, and that's something that I, like I said earlier, I respect and I appreciate about him. I definitely believe that Will is a model of this value.
Mr. Freeland, I am very happy to have the opportunity to say a few words. I think you are completely deserving of this Resilience Award. I am so thankful that I had the opportunity to be coached by you at the start of this school year. This is my first year working with UP, and I couldn't have had a better coach. And one of the first things you taught me to be was resilient. And one of the first things you taught me was that I would encounter and face different situations, some that are tough, and some that might seem seemingly impossible. But watching you work with the kids every day, you truly embody what it means to be resilient when placed in seemingly impossible situations. And it's been an honor to be able to learn from someone who comes to work with such a great attitude that puts the kids first every single day they walk into this building. I am so thankful that I've got the opportunity to learn under you and to become your friend and to know you. And I'm happy that you're receiving this reward.
Ms. Casa deserves a community award because she makes sure everyone feels as if they're in a safe environment and that their voice matters. She also makes sure that she's funny and helps bring the class's energy up, but at the same time makes sure everyone's professional and doing the work. She's very helpful, meaning like she likes to make sure you're doing your work, but at the same time, if you need help, she'll give it to you and she'll make other people help you as well. If she knows someone in the class knows something more than you, she'll help make sure that you all know the same thing by helping that student help you. She involves everyone and it's very professional.
It is a true honor and pleasure that today I get to speak to you briefly about Ms. Shaylin Diaz for winning the Values Award for Students. Over the time that I've worked with this young lady since launching Up Academy Holland, I've been nothing short of impressed with her commitment to students. I've seen her outside of school hours, outside of the normal call of duty, going to students' aid, whether it's out in the community, ensuring that the students have the resources and services they need to be successful in school, or just ensuring that the students have someone to talk to. What I've seen her do over the course of the last 3+ years being at Up Academy Holland is not just work. It's much more than work. It's love, it's commitment. It's a true focus on the whole student, and that includes the student's family. So when I think of this person, Ms. Shaylin Diaz, from the bottom of my heart, I really, really appreciate just every lesson that you've taught me, both directly and indirectly, how to love, how to really step outside of the box and really think about our students as not only students and scholars, but as people who need love, people who need support, people who need encouragement. So when I think of this value of students, I think of Shaylin Diaz, and it is a pleasure and an honor to present you with this award.
Let's give them all a big round of applause as they come to the stage. Congratulations. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Help me hand these out.
And finally, we'd like to recognize those individuals who have been members of the UP community for 5 years. To do so, I'm going to turn it over to Nicole Dorn, a member of the 5-year club and UP's deputy CEO.
Great, thank you so much. Before I do what I was brought up here to do, I want to make sure that we take a moment to thank 4 people whose work made this day possible. First, I'd like to thank our Summit team members, Vicki Lausch, Huay Quach, and Elizabeth DeBragio. They have worked tirelessly behind the scenes for the past few months to plan this day for all of us, everything from stuffing folders, to planning awards, to making these amazing videos that we've seen here today. I'd also like to give a special thanks to Lindsay Lease, our Summit coordinator. Lindsay, you have done an incredible job this year leading and planning the summit, focusing on every detail and leaving no stone unturned and making sure today goes off without a hitch. I don't know how you managed to do that while also planning your wedding, by the way. Thank you to all of you. We're truly grateful for all of your work in making today special. All 4 of you can please come up here. We have a little present for you. Please join me in extending a special thanks to our summit team. Great. One more round of applause. All right. So it's a true honor to be able to recognize those individuals who have been a part of the UP community for 5 years. This is one of my favorite parts of the summit, as it shows not only the breadth of our community as we continue to grow, but also the deep commitment to our organization that so many people have shown over the past 5 years. I'm going to call your names, and then I would like you to please stand up and come to the stage. Adi Angris from UP Boston. Komal Basine from UP Leonard. Come on up, come on up. Emily Bryanus from UP Leonard. Sarah Flyer from the network office in UP Boston. Lalea Gordon from UP Boston. Akeem Jackson from the network office, UP Holland and UP Dorchester. Val Joel from the Kennedy and UP Boston. Ryan Knight from the network. You can come line up behind me. Line up behind me. Ryan Knight from the network office. Kristen Lindenbank from the network office and UP Dorchester. Christine Menard from UP Boston. Elena Milius from UP Boston and UP Dorchester. Miles Montgomery Butler. Clearly you can tell he's from the Kennedy, but also from UP Boston. Casey No Miller from the network office. Anjali Nirmalan from Up Boston. And last but certainly not least, Jabari Petty from Up Dorchester, Up Holland, and Up Boston. I want to congratulate, so all of these people are up here because they have been with our network for 5 years. I want to congratulate all of our newest members of the Up 5 Year Club. Let's give them all one more round of applause. So earlier today, we heard from Veronica, our new CEO, and she talked a lot about the importance of focusing on relationships with students and families. When building those relationships is done to excellence, those relationships extend beyond the walls of our schools, and they also extend beyond the time that our students are Up Academy scholars. Nobody knows that better than our very own Dan Goldsberry and Akeem Jackson. I'd now like to turn the podium over to Dan and Akeem, who will lead us in a moment of silence in memory of former Up students that we have lost over the past year.
Thank you, Nicole. As many of you know, the communities around our schools, particularly in Boston, are in a current crisis. Over the course of the past 6 months, there have been numerous murders and incidents of violence, and many of our students and families have been directly impacted.
Since March, Up Academy Boston has lost 4 former students, all of them young men, just past their 18th birthdays. All had families who loved them, all had vast amounts of potential, and all of them left this world far too soon. As a matter of fact, in the time that it took us to organize this presentation for 3 of our students, another young man was murdered, and we had to add him. So we would like to take a moment to remember each one of them by name. As their picture appears on the screen, I will read the name of each young man with a short pause in between. After I've read each name, I ask that you join us in a collective moment of silence. Shelton Johnson. Anthony Woodbridge. Christopher Menard. Ace Jackman.
While the loss of our students is a painful reminder of the challenges we face in the communities around our schools, this is also a call to action. This is a reminder that our work is about much more than teaching students. We need to get out in the communities around our schools and make a positive impact. Doing nothing is not an option. And I want to repeat, doing nothing is not an option at all. This is a reality that our students and families face every day on a daily basis, and we have a collective responsibility to do what we can to give our support. My mentor always told me, don't let the work get in the way of the work. And I always wonder, what does that mean? Understand what the real work is and what your role is. You may be wondering, what could you possibly do to help with these very tough situations? Over the next few weeks, we're going to highlight some of the organizations that are doing this great work and get out some information to you so you can know exactly how you can get involved.
Here are just a few of the organizations doing this great work. The Louis D. Brown Peace Institute is a first responder when families lose a loved one, either as a victim or a perpetrator of homicide. The Institute was named after Louis D. Brown, a talented 8th grader from Dorchester who was killed on his way to an anti-violence meeting in his community. Each year, thousands of community members march from Lewis's neighborhood of Fields Corner to Boston City Hall on Mother's Day in support of all the mothers who have lost a child to violence. Last year, a number of Up Education Network staff were among the marchers, and we hope to grow this number significantly this coming year. Another great way to help is to support the Shelton Johnson Memorial Scholarship Fund, named after one of our former scholars who passed away this spring. Since Shelton was so full of promise, intellect, and curiosity, we believe that the natural way to honor his memory is through the establishment of a memorial scholarship fund in his name. This scholarship is intended to support an Up Academy graduate who is planning to attend a college, university, or other form of higher education. We hope to award our first scholarship in the spring of 2018.
I just want to reiterate, information will be forthcoming about ways that you can get out into the community and support these very difficult challenges that we face. From the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you all for taking the time to listen to us and for honoring not only our students that we've lost, but all of the members of the communities that we serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan and Akeem. That was very powerful. And I'm really, really excited and honored about our final and guest speaker today, because he is someone who could speak so well to the importance of being an advocate for our communities in which we serve, and for the importance of working to build those bridges, even beyond when our students are in our schools. So, without further ado, it's my great honor and privilege to introduce to you today our keynote speaker, the President of Democrats for Education Reform, Shavar Jeffries. Shavar's commitment to education stems directly from his personal experience. Raised by his grandmother, a public school teacher in the South Ward of Newark, New Jersey, he was instilled with a deep respect for the value of education from an early age. After receiving scholarships to Seton Hall Preparatory School, Duke University, and Columbia Law School, he moved back to Newark with the firm belief that his path to success through high-quality education should not be the outlier for students in Newark, but the norm. From his efforts fighting for fair funding practices to ensure that schools have the resources they deserve, to his service at the Newark Public Schools Advisory Board and at the New Jersey Attorney General's Office, where he led the Juvenile Justice Commission and the Civil Rights Department, he has been a vocal advocate for social justice throughout his career. We are truly, truly honored that he has taken time today to be here with us. Please join me in welcoming our passionate advocate for public education and for all students, Shavar Jeffries.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. You all do God's work each and every day. You're amazing for what you pour into our young people. So it's just an honor for me to be here and share a few words with you. Your new leader is world class. You're so blessed to have Veronica. I hope you know that. I'm sure you do. And I appreciate Nicole and Lindsay and everyone's support in terms of my ability to hopefully share something that might be meaningful with you. What I was asked to do is talk a bit about my personal story, because in many ways I was one of the kids that you serve. I mean, I saw some of the data that shows that over 90% of the kids that are served by the network are students of color. Over 70% come from low-income families, and many of whom, as we've obviously just learned, have been touched either themselves or in their family by violence and homicide oftentimes. And I've had to go through all of that. And I'm here today because of great teachers and administrators and school leaders and my family and community who all work together to get me here. And so the message I have for you are rooted in that experience, and I thought I could illustrate it best by just giving a bit of my background. As Nicole said, I'm from the great city of Newark, New Jersey. I know y'all probably love Boston. Newark is clearly the best town in the country. If you don't know that, you need to go visit and find out. But my mom, she was a teenage mom. She was 18 when I was born. I was 30 when I had, and married when I had my first 2 kids. I'm 42 now. I'm still not ready to raise these 2 babies that I have. So it's amazing to think about what my mom had to deal with at 18. And unfortunately, my father was young as well, and he wasn't ready at all to deal with the responsibilities of fatherhood, so he just kind of left. And so the first 8 years of my life, my mom was very much involved, but I spent most of my time with different relatives. I spent a year or 2 with my grandmother, another year or 2 with my grandfather, another about 18 months with one of my aunts. My mom got settled actually in California. She moved from Newark to California when I was 8, and I went to go live with her then. And it's amazing how what can seem to be very small incidents can affect the whole trajectory of your life. Is we had a broken lock, and my mom found a locksmith to fix the lock. And the locksmith and my mom entered into a relationship. They got married. Next thing I know, my mom was pregnant with my little sister. And not too long after that, I remember the locksmith started looking at the phone bills. And at that time, maybe some of the younger people may not realize, we actually had paper phone bills back then. And you had to pay separately for long distance, so it wasn't unlimited minutes. And long story short, he started asking her questions about numbers on the phone bill. And I guess he got an answer he didn't like. And this locksmith slapped my mother. And this was a big, strong man. He was a bodybuilder. My mother was very petite. And this would be the beginning of a season of domestic violence that my mom, my little sister, and I had to live through. And it happens every day still. My mom would get restraining order after restraining order. All they would do was inflame the situation. The police couldn't protect us. No one could protect us. It got so bad we had to flee. And so we were in a shelter for a while because we had to leave from where we lived because he knew where we lived. And at that point, my mom feared for her life. And November 25th, 1985, my mom went to work. And she told me that this was on a Monday. And that Wednesday, Rocky IV was coming out. At that time, the movies came out on Wednesday. I was a big Rocky fan. The commercials made the movie look epic. You know, I will break you and all of that. And we're in the middle of the Cold War, so I couldn't wait to see that. And my mom said to me, you know what, this would kind of be a way to escape from all of the drama we had been going through for the last several months. But I would never get that opportunity with my mom because when she went to work that day, the locksmith was waiting for her. And he would testify later that he just happened to have a sawed-off shotgun in his van at the time. And so he followed my mom into the workplace, and she didn't make it out. And so my grandmother, my grandfather came and got me. I went to go live with my father, who hadn't been around much. I went to go stay with him. My sister was 6 months old at the time. She went with my grandmother. My father, as I said before, had kind of been in and out of my life. He popped up again, I guess, given what happened to my mom, to want to be there for me. I was with him about 4 or 5 months, came home one day, he was gone, and I would never see him again. This is in 1986. And so my grandmother came and got me. She had my little sister. She had thought she raised all her kids, didn't think she'd have to raise another generation of kids, but she came and got me. She put me in the Boys and Girls Clubs of Newark. And not too long after that, a philanthropist, this was before charter schools, this was before the various new governance structures that obviously you all know very much about. A philanthropist said he's going to create a scholarship for 20 kids in Newark to get scholarships to go to private high schools in and around the area. And one of my counselors came to me and said, I want you to fill out this paperwork because it might connect you with an opportunity. And I filled it out. I didn't know what it was. She told me a few weeks later I'm getting a scholarship to go to a place called Seton Hall Preparatory School in West Orange, New Jersey. I didn't want to go to Seton Hall Preparatory School in West Orange, New Jersey. I wanted to go where my friends were going. They told me, and I hope I'm not offending anybody, that we have to wear the tan khaki pants that today some people still like to wear, but that wasn't hot in 1987. I don't think it's hot in 2017, but definitely wasn't hot at 12 years old in 87 in the South Ward of Newark. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to go to Week Wake High School where all my friends were going. It was all boys. I wasn't feeling that. It was a Catholic high school. I didn't know anything about mass. I remember going the first mass I went to, and there weren't any percussion. There wasn't a guitar. I didn't even understand. I didn't know what type of service that was without any percussion. But my grandmother said, and it was a couple hours away, but my grandmother said, you know, you're gonna wake up every morning, you're gonna go to Bergen Street and Lehigh, and you're gonna wait for the 39 bus to pick you up. That's gonna take you downtown to Broad Market, and at Broad Market you can get on to 24, you can get on to 73, you can get on to 21. You're gonna take that up to Northfield Avenue and West Orange, you're gonna get off, you're gonna walk up the hill, and you're gonna do whatever those people tell you to do. And because of what she told me, that put me on a course that would get me in front of you today, because when I walked into those doors, I was confronted by adults who loved babies, who thought that children had limitless potential, limitless possibility and capacity, and who believed it was their job each and every day to cultivate every ounce of genius that every child in front of them had, and they were relentless, and I mean relentless about that. My English teacher was a gentleman named Mr. Benkowski, and if you would dare to link two independent clauses with a comma, you might get shot. If you didn't know how to use a colon and a semicolon appropriately in terms of some way in which you were analyzing some text that he gave us, he would thought the world would come to an end. If you would get a 98 on an exam, he'd say, you know, that's pretty good. You left 2 points on the table. Those are your points as well. And so each and every day he was pushing us to be great because he believed all of us had that in us. And he knew about some of the things I went through, but that had no bearing on the way in which he engaged me and engaged his classroom. He didn't say that, well, because you're from the hood and you're from the Southwood of Newark and you're raised by your grandma and you lost your mom and you're following around, maybe you can put the comma between those two independent clauses and be okay, because maybe that's all I expect that you can do. He didn't have that sort of mindset. And because of the pushing and the expectation of people like him, along with an amazing grandmother, an amazing aunt, Mother Connie in the neighborhood. Mother Connie's the type, when you're hungry, she'd put food in your pocket. She'd make sure you're doing your homework. I found out later on she couldn't even read, but she would, when my grandmother was working, she would look at my homework to make me think she was checking something, and I didn't know she couldn't read. But it was accountability. It was like, you're going to know there's an adult who cares about you, and we're going to make sure that you're not going to slip. So I had a whole community of folks who put me on their back, and because of that, I was able to get scholarships to go to Duke University and Columbia Law School and all of that. But that's all connected to what people, my family, my community, and my teachers did for me. And so from all of that, I have 4 points I'm going to leave with you, and then I'm going to sit down. One is, and I'm very confident everyone in here already understands this, is that every child has a unique and amazing genius. And please always act like you know that. Please. Particularly when I saw the data that over 90% of your kids are kids of color. Because the reality is we live in a society in which blackness, being an immigrant, being a Latino, there's messages that everybody's bombarded with that suggest these folks aren't as smart, aren't as beautiful, aren't as talented, and everybody internalizes that. White folks, black folks, brown folks, everyone internalizes that, and we have to be very careful that we don't, even when we think we're not. Just a few weeks ago, as I said, I'm a very proud graduate of Duke University, and just a few weeks ago, a friend of mine, she's on the Duke Alumni Council, and she does interviewing for Duke kids who want to go to Duke in New Jersey. She does a send-off every summer for all of the kids in North New Jersey who are going to Duke. I was also the founding board president of KIPP. We had 2 of our KIPP graduates who were going to Duke, so they were there. And when I saw them, I said, I'm so excited you're going. I want you to dominate when you go to Duke. I mean, I want this school to think about renaming buildings in your name, given how you're about to dominate when you go to school. Not even a minute or 2 after I said that, another person who was there, who actually is a person I know, approached these 2 African-American KIPP grads going to Duke and said, if you struggle when you go to Duke, it's okay. You can make it through that. My kids went to Duke and they had to struggle, so if you have to struggle, it's okay. I pulled her inside to say, why are you talking to them about struggle? Regardless of what your kids have to do, what they got to do with them? I believe they're here to dominate, right? So don't ever internalize these diminished conceptions about the capacity of these children, even while you think you're not, because sometimes that can be the most insidious and the most destructive ways in which we can rehearse and we can perpetuate these negative norms about the capacity of these young people. So one is, please remember the amazing greatness of these young people and always act in ways that reflect that. A second point is related to that. Please remember the genius was there before you showed up. Please. You know, I've been in this, I didn't even know it because when we started KIPP 16 years ago in Newark, there wasn't all this ed reform sector and all of that. But I guess I've been in this sector for 16, 17 years. Sometimes this sector can be way too self-congratulatory and think that the sector showed up and now everything, because the sector showed up, all this stuff is happening. I've seen an iteration of the following slide more times than I can count. I'll go to usually charter schools and other reform-minded institutions, and I'll see some sort of PowerPoint, and there'll be some slide that has all the data about how black and brown and low-income kids are going to college by the charter school, and there'll be some version of, we're proving that these low-income kids and African-American Latino kids can go to college. And I always ask some question of, hey, how long have y'all been in this community? 5, 6 years. Okay, so before you showed up, we didn't know black and brown kids could go to college, and thank God you showed up, so now we know the kids can go to college? Who told you that? If you didn't know it, way before any of y'all cats were here, folk have been changing the world. If anything, what you're doing is showing how dysfunctional these other institutions are, that they can take the limitless genius of these babies and if anything, extinguish it because these systems are so dysfunctional. So remember, the genius was there way before any of us showed up. Most of these babies were born with it, and it's our job to cultivate it. To me, it's like a seed. If anybody knows anybody's been a gardener, ever tried to plant a tree, the seed has in it already everything it needs to germinate and flower into an amazing and beautiful tree. All it needs is the appropriate amounts of sunlight, water, and oxygen, and once those are provided, the germination process is automatic because it's already born with everything it has, everything it needs to kind of birth the greatness that's inside of it. And I believe our job is to create that sort of environments in that context. Please don't get so cocky and arrogant to think that it's because of you that these kids are able to be great. They're great because they are born great, and we're just there to cultivate that out of them. The last 2 points I have is, one, obviously, remember that every child you have, that's somebody's baby. And I have 2 kids. I have 2 children, myself, my wife and I do. And we love these babies more than anything is imaginable. I'm a very nonviolent type person, but anybody harms my babies, that Newark, that's still, even though I go to Whole Foods and I do all that, I still got, you know, it's still in there. You know, I love my kale juices now and all of that, but it's still, I still got enough hood in me that if you dare to hurt one of my babies, it's going to come out. And so remember that you got somebody's baby in your care every day, and you owe it to that parent, that family, that community, do everything you can to cultivate that genius in that baby, and you owe it to them to partner with them. They're going to always, as much as you love these kids, and I know you do, and you're better, they're going to always love their baby more than you ever can imagine. And so that means you can't do anything that's going to touch their baby that they're not bought into, that they understand, and that they support. Parents, families, and communities can be the greatest support, can be the greatest resource of reservoir of support and protection, and can enhance the work, or they can be the biggest resistance. The choice is yours based upon how you decide to engage with our parents, families, and communities. And the last piece I have is please be bold in everything you do. As I said, I'm a very proud Duke grad, and I don't know if anybody watches college basketball, but you know, 5 national championships and I don't know if the United States in the Olympics. I don't know if anybody realized in 2004 the United States didn't win the gold medal and lost in the world championship, and the United States had to find the best coach in the country to bring the United States back to its greatness. And of course, the United States, went to Duke and got Duke's coach. Anyway, a few years ago, we played Lehigh University in the national tournament, and Lehigh University is a great school, but it doesn't have that type of legacy. The United States is not going to Lehigh's coach they don't have any national championships. And when we played them, no one thought that Lehigh could beat Duke. Lehigh did beat Duke that day. And Coach K, who is also the coach of the United States and coach of Duke, was asked what happened. And he said, quote, we were tentative. We were very tentative throughout the game. Lehigh was bold, and 3 words that I love, and bold won. And when I think about what you're doing for our young people each and every day, please always be bold, be assertive, be proud, be confident in your advocacy for these kids, never waver, right? The way in which we're going to provide the support to these young people so that they can walk into the greatness that they're already born with is to be bold each and every day in our teaching and our instruction, in the way in which we lead schools, and how we advocate and push systems and push policy so that it reflects the best interests of our young people. So thank you so very much. I love y'all. I love everything you're doing. Thanks for having me. God bless you.
Can we just get one more round of applause for that awesome speech? And for his team, the DFBR. On behalf of all of us at Up Network, thank you for taking the time to share your insights with us. And thank you for just being completely honest. Those remarks stood out so much to me, and sometimes I know me as a person can forget those things, so thank you. Thank you a lot. Before we officially wrap up our day, I have a few important closing notes and one request, just one. Thank yous. A lot of work and attention to detail went into making Up Summit 2017 a success, and one of the key individuals who made today possible is Lindsay Lease, who served as this year's Summit coordinator. Let's give Lindsay a huge round of applause. I also want to recognize the folks at Pure Edge for their wellness session this morning, and every individual who played a leadership role in addressing the full network or leading the session today. Everyone is working hard to get ready for the school year, everyone, and I deeply appreciate your above and beyond efforts to help facilitate about adult learning today. Thank you to the network office team for helping us to produce the summit, for setting up yesterday, for guiding us all throughout the day, and for cleaning up. And lastly, thank you to UMass Boston for accommodating us here today. So applause for all of those.